Story: Am I the ho for despising my mentally handicapped sister? The title makes me sound horrible, but hear me out. The weight of those words hung heavy in the air as I sat in my basement bedroom, surrounded by the remnants of a childhood I never truly got to experience. The damp, musty smell of the underground space had long since become a part of me, a constant reminder of the sacrifices I'd been forced to make since I was 7 years old. My sister Lily was born when I was 6. At first, I was excited to be a big brother, imagining all the fun we'd have together. But as the months passed, it became clear that Lily wasn't like other babies. She was diagnosed with severe autism, requiring constant attention and care. Nonverbal and unable to take care of herself, Lily became the center of our family's universe, and I was left orbiting on the outskirts. The changes were subtle at first. My parents' attention shifted, their eyes always darting to Lily, their ears always attuned to her needs. Then came the bigger sacrifices. At 7, I was moved to the basement to make room for Lily next to our parents' bedroom. My toys, once treasured possessions, became casualties of Lily's destructive tendencies. Each broken toy was met with a dismissive wave from my parents, their focus never wavering from Lily. As I grew older, the expectations placed upon me increased. I became a de facto caregiver, expected to drop everything at a moment's notice to tend to Lily's needs. My social life withered on the vine, plans with friends constantly canceled or interrupted by urgent calls home. Even my rare moments of freedom were tainted by the constant threat of being summoned back to my familial duties. The incident at the movie theater still burned in my memory. I had been so excited to see the new Spider-Man film, a rare treat in my constrained life. But when I emerged from the darkness of the cinema, my phone lit up with missed calls and angry messages. My punishment for enjoying 2 hours of escapism was being grounded, my small taste of freedom snatched away. Through it all, I tried to be understanding. I knew Lily couldn't help the way she was and that my parents were doing their best in a difficult situation. But with each passing year, the resentment grew, a poisonous vine wrapping itself around my heart. The breaking point came during a conversation with my father about college. As we discussed potential majors, he casually suggested I choose a lucrative field to ensure I could take care of Lily when they were gone. In that moment, something inside me shattered. Years of pent-up emotions erupted in a torrent of tears and screams. I railed against the unfairness of it all, how I had become nothing more than a caretaker in my own family. The words poured out of me, bitter and raw, as I accused my parents of seeing me as nothing more than Lily's future guardian. Now, locked in my room, the silence is deafening. My parents haven't come to check on me, and I'm left wondering if they even care. The realization that I might truly hate my sister sits like a lead weight in my stomach. It feels wrong, taboo even, to admit such a thing. But the feeling persisted, a dark, ugly truth I can no longer ignore. As I sit here, surrounded by the trappings of a life that has never felt fully my own, I can't help but reflect on the years of sacrifice and resentment that have led to this moment. The love I know I should feel for my sister is overshadowed by the anger and frustration that have become my constant companions. In the quiet of my self-imposed exile, a single thought echoes through my mind. Am I the hold or not? Comment 1, not the whole. These are perfectly legitimate and understandable feelings. You have done nothing to sign up for taking care of another human being. It's not like she's your kid, and that was wrong of your dad to joke about because it sounds like he probably is really thinking along those lines. Be honest with your parents about how you feel. Make clear that it's insane that you're expected to be a full-time babysitter, grounded for no phone in a theater. That's fucking bullshit. Comment to it, not the whole kid. I hope you go to college far away from home. Later in life, make sure your parents understand that you won't be taking responsibility. So they better have care and funding in place. Story. Am I the asshole for sleeping naked on top of the covers to teach my flatmate's GF a lesson? So I live with my childhood best friend, 22, also a guy. and have done for 2 years now. Up until last week, things were perfect between us. Our apartment had been a sanctuary of friendship, laughter, and mutual respect. We've known each other since elementary school, and living together felt like a natural extension of our bond. The dynamic shifted when my roommate started dating Sarah, 23. At first, I was thrilled. Sarah was witty, kind, and shared many of my interests. We'd often find ourselves engrossed in conversations about obscure bands or debating the merits of various sci-fi franchises. In many ways, she felt like the sister I never had. However, one quirk of Sarah's quickly became apparent: her complete disregard for personal boundaries. The first time she barged into my room without knocking, I brushed it off as a simple mistake. By the third time, it had become a pattern. Each morning, she'd burst through my door, coffee offer on her lips, seemingly oblivious to the concept of privacy. I tried to address the issue gently. "Hey, Sarah," I'd say, pulling my covers up to my chin. "You might want to knock next time. I could have been changing." She'd laugh it off, a tinkling sound that was both charming and infuriating. "But you weren't," she'd reply with a wink. As the incidents piled up, my frustration grew. I sleep in the nude, a fact I'd mentioned to both my roommate and Sarah. Yet the morning invasions continued. I found myself growing tense as bedtime approached, wondering if tomorrow would be the day Sarah got an eyeful she wasn't prepared for. After the sixth intrusion, I decided to be more direct. "Sarah," I said, my voice serious, "what if I had no covers and you saw everything?" She giggled, dismissing my concern with a wave of her hand. "Oh, don't be such a prude," she teased. That was the final straw. A plan formed in my mind, born of exasperation and a desire to make my point crystal clear. The next night, I made a decision that would change everything. I slept on top of my covers, my body bare to the world. Sure enough, at 7 a.m. sharp, my door flew open. Sarah's cheerful voice filled the room. "Hey, sleepyhead, want some cove?" Her words cut off abruptly as her eyes widened in shock. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Then, with a strangled yelp, she backed out of the room, slamming the door behind her. The aftermath was immediate and intense. Sarah avoided me like the plague, her face burning red whenever we crossed paths. My roommate cornered me later that day, his face a mask of fury. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he demanded. "You deliberately exposed yourself to my girlfriend." I tried to explain, to make him understand the months of frustration that had led to this moment, but my words fell on deaf ears. In his eyes, and soon in the eyes of our mutual friends, I had transformed from a trusted friend into a perverted creep. Rumors spread like wildfire. The story twisted and grew with each retelling. Soon people were whispering about how I'd laid in wait, how I'd gotten my kicks from flashing, unsuspecting women. My protests were drowned out by the tide of gossip and condemnation. As I sit alone in my room, door firmly locked, I can't help but replay the events in my mind. What was meant to be a lesson in respecting boundaries has spiraled into a nightmare that threatens my friendships and reputation. The sanctuary of my home has become a battleground, and I'm left wondering, am I the whole or not? Comment when not the ahola. This girl sounds like she's blatantly trying to get you in trouble. Maybe she has a twisted plan to get you out of the house. I don't know, but it seriously sounds like she might be doing this on purpose. You told her to knock on many, many occasions, and she even giggled when you said, "Next time I will be bloody naked," and then you get called a pervert and an ass for actually following through? She is most certainly the asshole here. Sit down with your friend and really get this point across that she is invading your privacy. Comment 2, not the... A whole, do these people not realize how crazy they sound? You're naked in your own room. You're out of order, mister. If they are the sort of people who then go around telling people you are some sick creep, they are not your friends. Story ain't me, the whole telling my parents to pay me back my college tuition if they want a relationship. I was raised by parents who believed religiously and just culturally in rigid gender roles. Dad should work, mom should stay home with the kids. I'm the only girl and have 3 brothers. Growing up in this household felt like existing in a different universe from my siblings. While my brothers were encouraged to dream big and pursue their ambitions, I was relegated to the kitchen, learning to cook and clean as if it were my sole purpose in life. The disparity in how we were treated became glaringly obvious as we entered our teenage years. My 2 older brothers, Mark and David, sailed through high school with the wind of our parents' expectations at their backs. They were pushed to excel academically, join sports teams, and participate in extracurricular activities that would bolster their college applications. When the time came, they were rewarded with full financial support for their higher education dreams. I watched with a mixture of pride and envy as Mark packed his bags for a prestigious university on the East Coast, his tuition, books, and even his off-campus apartment fully funded by our parents. 2 years later, David followed suit, heading to a well-known engineering school with the same level of support. Even my younger brother, Tommy, was groomed for this path from an early age. Meanwhile, my report cards were met with indifference, my academic achievements glossed over in favor of praising my domestic skills. You don't need calculus to change diapers, my father would joke, not realizing how each dismissive comment chipped away at my self-worth. As high school progressed, I found myself secretly staying late in the computer lab, researching colleges and scholarships, knowing that my dreams of higher education were seen as frivolous by those who should have supported me most. The day I received my acceptance letter, along with a partial scholarship to study engineering, was both the happiest and most terrifying of my life. I kept the news to myself, silently making plans and reaching out to friends for help. A week before move-in day, I finally gathered the courage to tell my parents I was leaving. The ensuing argument was explosive. My father's face turned an alarming shade of red as he bellowed about my disobedience and lack of respect for their beliefs. My mother wept, lamenting how I was throwing away my true calling as a wife and mother. In the end, I left with little more than the clothes on my back and a few hand-me-down college essentials from sympathetic friends. The years that followed were a blur of part-time jobs, instant noodles, and late-night study sessions. While my brothers enjoyed the luxury of focusing solely on their studies, I juggled work and classes, watching my debt grow alongside my determination to succeed. The rare phone calls home were tense and brief, usually ending in arguments or tearful hang-ups. Now, years later, I stood in a sun-dappled park, facing the parents who had once denied me the future I'd fought so hard to achieve. Their words of reconciliation rang hollow, a vague apology, if they had caused me pain. When pressed for specifics, they deflected, eager to sweep the past under the rug without acknowledging the depth of their actions. In that moment, standing before them with the weight of my struggles and the knowledge of my hard-won success, I made a decision. I demanded they prove their sincerity by compensating me for the education they had so freely given my brothers. The look of shock on their faces spoke volumes. My mother's tears and my father's dismissal of my request as a joke only served to reinforce the chasm between us. As I walked away, leaving them stunned in the park, I felt a mixture of emotions. The subsequent barrage of calls from my brothers accusing me of immaturity and cruelty only added to the complexity of the situation. Their inability to see the inequality we had experienced growing up was a stark reminder of the different worlds we had inhabited under the same roof. Standing firm in my decision, yet feeling the weight of familial disapproval, I found myself at a crossroads. The path to reconciliation seemed fraught with unacknowledged hurts and ingrained biases. As I cradled my growing belly, pondering the future I wanted for my own child, a singular thought echoed in my mind. Am me the whole or not? Comments 1, not the a-hole. Hi from another engineer from a family filled with rage that she has all the talent that the boy was never up to. As far as I can see, your answer to them was perfect. It was very fair, and if they have fixed their appalling bigotry issues, they would be falling all over themselves, begging you to take the money. Since they clearly have not fixed their bigotry, you don't want them around your child. Never, ever poison children by allowing bigots in their presence. No exceptions. That includes your bigoted brothers. I meant two. Wow. Um, I would typically say that you would be the a-hole because expecting money from family is never a good thing, but I am making an exception here. No, you're not the OD of the whole. Being singled out like that because you are a woman is gross. And it's terribly unfair that your brother's got a free ride and you didn't for that one fact. Good on you, though, for making your own way in spite of them.